Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, we will be discussing about Git and GitHub. Git is a version control system. It lets you manage and keep track of your source code history. You could do things like collaborating with other developers on your project, participating and contributing in other open source projects, etc. Git was developed by Linux Foundation in 2008. Git even lets you track your source code history. This means if you have made an application, now you add more features to it, that is adding more code to it, and maybe for some reason the feature code has bugs in it, so many users will face issues with those buggy features. So here Git helps you revert back to your original source code with just a few commands. Now GitHub is something different. It was developed by Microsoft. GitHub basically is a cloud-based hosting service that enables you to manage your Git repositories. So it gives you a visual experience to your Git repository. And GitHub is much more user-friendly than using Git commands. So this is a pictorial representation of Git's working. Now here you see there is a Git repository uh, which is either on GitHub or on your local machine. Now there can be many developers who are collaborating with each other to maintain a project or making a new project. So they individually make their own branches, or you can say they clone that source code into their local machines and they update the code. Now when they want to change the main source code, they will push their updated code on the Git repository on their respective branches. Now the project manager has the authority or the control where he can see the changes made by each of the developers on their respective branches, and he can decide which code is better or which features has bugs in it, or according to that what part of the code has to be added in the main GitHub repository. So the admin can decide and review all of their codes and later merge the code into the Git repository. So here's how you can collaborate with other developers and maintain a Git project. These are some basic Git commands that a web developer should keep in mind while making a new Git repository and pushing code to it. So as you can see in the picture, there is a working directory that is on your local machine. You are making a new project. Now there is a staging area. Now when you make some new files or make some changes to existing files and you want to push that file to the repository, that updated file to the repository, so first you add that file to a staging area. Now what is a staging area? It is a area or a place where all the files that have been changed come together at a time, and all those files together can be committed to the repository. So now once all the changes are added to the staging area, you can select what files that have been changed specifically to commit, or you can, if you are confirmed that all the files that have been changed are okay and they have to be committed to the repository, you could also commit the whole bunch of files together to the repository. Now let's see what the first command says. It says git config global user.email, and you have to mention your GitHub email, the email with which your GitHub account was created. Then what this command does is it sets a configuration, a global configuration in your system, and says and specifies that this email ID should be used to publish the code to your GitHub repository. Now you also have to specify the username of your GitHub. Now this command git config global user.name, and you have to mention your username in this double quotes. Now once you have done this, then you have to say git init. Now what this command initializes an empty git repository. Now this git repository is not yet generated on the cloud that is on the GitHub. It is just generated on your local machine. Now once you make a new file called filename.txt, or there could be another filename.py.html, any amount of files. So once you have done making changes in it and you want to update or add the file to the repository, so you could say git add and that file name with that extension in double quotes. Now this adds a particular file to the staging area. Now you could add all the files. Let's say you have 100 files. You could also do maybe some 2 to 3 files have been changed, so you can add them specifically. But what if there are 50 files that have been changed? So now you want to add all the files that have been changed to the staging area. So you can do git add dot. So this command adds all the changed files to the staging area. Now once you are confirmed that all the files that have to be changed are there in the staging area, and you have gone through the file changes, and you are sure that you want to commit the changes to the repository, so you could say git commit -am commit message. Commit message is just, it is necessary to mention a commit message so that any other contributor knows that what changes have been done in those files, and he can specifically look for the change in the file. So commit message plays a very important role, so make sure that you mention proper commit messages for those files. So this command basically uh, generates a commit message for all, a common commit message for all the files that have been changed. So you can also do remove this a here, and you could mention the file name in double quotes and also the commit message in double quotes with separated by space to mention a specific commit message for a specific file. Now when you are completed committing those files to the repository, now mind that these commits are also done to the local repository on your machine. Now all those changes have to be pushed to the cloud-based repository on your GitHub. So for that there's a command git push. So git push just pushes or uploads all the uh, repository changes to the cloud repository on GitHub. So when you are done with git push, you can open your GitHub account and see that there's a new repository that has been made under your account, and you can see all the changes there and all the file uploads with the commit message. We'll see all of this in the demonstration part. Yeah, and I forgot to mention that all of these command have to be typed in the your command window, command or the terminal. Okay, so let's move over to the demonstration part. Okay, so to begin with, let's first install Git in our system. So go to your favorite browser and type in Git, download, and click on this link. Here you have to select Windows, and it asks you to save the file. So click on save file and just save file anywhere on your desktop. Right. So you can click on it. And just accept the terms and conditions. So here do not change anything, just go ahead with whatever is already there, and you could opt for additional icons on the desktop. So it just creates a shortcut on the desktop. Now again click on next. Now don't change here anything and just click on install. So Git will be installed on your system. I already have Git in my system, so that is why I'm not installing it. You just have to click install here. So after we are done installing Git in our system, you can open your development folder in VS Code. Okay, for some people, the terminal opens up by default in VS Code, or if you want to open a terminal, you could press Control and tilde. Tilde is the backward apostrophe sign that is just in the line of number keys below the F keys, or you could say below the escape key. So Control tilde, and here we'll type the git configuration command. So first let us say git config minus minus global, and then it was user dot email, and in double inverted commas you have to mention the email ID on which you have created your GitHub account. So there could be multiple, so select one. Now press enter. Now you need to set the Git username. Note that you just have to do it once, not every time you make a new repository. So I already have done it, so I am do it again, do it doing it again. Now after configuration has been done, you you have to type in git init to make a new empty repository on your local machine. So here it says initialize empty git repository in this path. So just where our development folder was, inside it a .git folder has been created. Now let's see another command called git status. So you see we are on branch master, right? So branch master is the one where you have the final version of your code, or the deployment code, or the production code on master branch. So as I mentioned in the previous part, that other developers, if they want to contribute, they have to make a separate branch with their name, or, or any other customized name, and they make changes on that parallel branch. So the project manager has the control to either merge the code from the parallel custom branch to master, or neglect those changes. So also it says no commits yet, so we haven't committed anything to the repository, and it says untracked files. So tracking files uh, is the concept related to staging. Like right now we haven't added any files to the staging area, so Git doesn't know what are the files to be tracked. And as I mentioned, that Git helps you track the source code history. So right now Git doesn't know anything about these files. So to let us add to the staging area, these files need to be added to the staging area. So I'll just say git add dot. So what this does is it will add all the files to the staging area. Or let me demonstrate you with a specific file first. if I specify this, only index.html will be added to the staging area. So click this and again type git status. You see, it tells you that these are the changes in the staging area and these are the file that it knows. It knows the history that now okay, git got a new file and it will track this file in the later stages, but it doesn't know these files, so these haven't been added. Only this index.html has been added to the staging area. Now you could also see the all the staging and committing history in this source control tab, which already comes in the Visual Studio Code. So you see index.css and intro.png has changes in it. Even if the file is empty, still it will be counted in the change because there is a change in the working directory. A new file has been created. So uh, now when we typed in git add index.html, it has been added to the stage changes, and these changes have not been staged yet. So either I could write git add dot and it would add all the files to the staging area. Now you see these files also comes into the staging area. If I want to remove them from the staging area from here, I could also do. You see index.html has come out of the staging area. Now again I'll add it from here, so it goes to the staging. Now we have to commit those files. So I'll say git commit -am. So why -am? For this message will be, this commit message will be applicable to all the files, since we are uh, in in the initial stages and we want to uh, create a new repository. So I'll just say a common message called initial commit to all, for all the files, just to let other developers know that this commit had the first version of the file. So you could mention anything. I'm just saying initial commit. Just press enter. Now you see these changes are gone and the staging area has been cleared. You could also type the message here and select all the files and click on tick mark. So here it says commit, so it will commit the files from here also. So no need to type all the commands every time. You could also do it from this graphical interface. Now let's say git status again, just to confirm. You see on branch master and nothing to commit, working tree clean. So this says that git has already track of all the files that are there in the working directory, and it is not, you know, in a confused state, that is, it has been tracking all the files now. Now you see here also you can see we are on branch master. So see HTML basics git and we are on branch master. So now once you are done committing your files, so just click on this button to publish to GitHub repository. So it says publish to private repository or publish to a public repository. So what is a public repository? You can share the repository with anyone you want and it will be visible to anyone on the internet which has a GitHub account. And private repository is not visible to everyone on GitHub. It will be private to you and no other person can clone the code or view it. So let's just say make it public repository, because the task you will be doing, you have to share the GitHub link on the Google Forms. Let's make a public repository. See, it is publishing to GitHub and it is uploading files. We publish to the Uzefa Isaji HTML basics repository to GitHub. Now if you can click open GitHub here, or could just go to browser and open GitHub and log in. Yeah, so here you can see all the files have been uploaded to the remote repository on GitHub, and all the commit messages you can see initial commit have been applied to all the files, and who has committed the files. So you can see the username of that, and here it says we are on branch master. So this was about creating a repository and pushing your code to GitHub with Git. Now let us see how we can uh, host our web page with GitHub. So let me sign in first. Yeah, so now I have signed in into my account, and let's head over to settings first. Go to pages. Yeah, so here it opens the GitHub pages tab over here, and here you could say it says source GitHub pages is currently disabled. So now just click on this none and select the branch. So it is on none now. So now just click on master. So you have to choose the branch from which you have want to deploy your host or code. Could also choose a theme from here, but I recommend not to choose anything because we already have styled our web page. Now before saving this file, let me just uh, tell an important thing, that just make sure that index.html uh, is there in your file repository because the landing page of any website should be named index.html. So that's how hosting works. Just the HTML file has to be named index.html. So what do I mean by landing pages? If you type any URL in the web page, if you type any URL in the browser, so let's say google.com, so it takes you a web page like this. So this is called the landing page. So the first page that you end up after entering a URL is called the landing page of that website without any further clicks. So now for our landing page is the only page that is there in the file in the whole project. So our landing page has to be named index.html. So now let's head over back to pages, master branch, and save it. So now your site is ready to be published at this URL. It gives you the URL, so you can share this URL with anyone to view. To Now you could also add custom domains here. So if you don't want github.io over here, and you you want that it should be .dev or .com, .in. So you need to buy those domains from website like GoDaddy or other hosting services. So you could mention those custom domains over here. So now let's click on this link, open it in new tab, see what it has done. See, our whole website is now live on internet, and you could share with anyone, and it's also pretty fast, right? All of the content is proper. So that is how you host a website on GitHub. Now let me remind you again that please mention the HTML file as index.html file. The landing page has to be index.html file. If you have multiple pages, no problem, those need not be named as index.html, but the landing page has to be index.html. So that completes our web development tutorial. Thank you for watching our videos.